Hey there! So this is my first video and I have zero experience on how to make an intro, but if I had to make one, I think it would go something like this. 2023 will go down as one of the best years in video game history. Which is a shame because I didn't play a lot of the biggest hitters this year. Like, don't expect to see Baldur's Gate or Alan Wake 2 in this list. Baldur's probably would have taken the top spot, according to a lot of people, but I'll be playing those next year. I do want to gush about the games that I did play, and some other games that were released in previous years, but that I only just played on 2023. So yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of cheating, but hey, it's my list and I do what I want, okay? And that's really all I have to say, so yeah, let's go. I don't really want to talk or show much about Cocoon, being that it is a puzzle game, and I'd rather have you guys experience it for yourselves and see why it is one of my favorite video games this year. I'll talk a little bit about the main mechanics and try to make you guys interested into playing it, but that's about it. The main mechanic of Cocoon revolves around these spheres you get while playing through the game, and depending on the color, these have different mechanics like being able to see hidden paths or turn these foam looking things into structures. The game uses only one button, so when you press it, you'll either pick up the sphere, drop it, or use the mechanic it comes with. Pretty simple, right?
I think not!
Early in the game, you'll open this dome, and when you put your sphere in it, a small pool of water will appear, and that's when the real game begins, baby! You see, the spheres have entirely different worlds that work independently from one another in real time. And you can, for example, take a sphere inside the world of another sphere to progress the puzzles. So yeah, you basically can put an entire world inside another world, and whatever's happening in both will still happen with no interruptions. In many of the puzzles in the late game, you need to go inside a sphere that's inside another sphere, and then use the mechanic of a third sphere and maybe go back one world to change the spheres, and trust me, I'm trying to make it sound easy and simple, but it's really not. Once you have at least 3 spheres, get ready to put your brain into
maximum overdrive.
This game gives me hard Inception vibes, and it makes for some of the most creative puzzle solving I've ever experienced. I need to see a video of the developers talking about the game's thought process, because I can only picture a game with puzzles like this one coming out of a person that just had an existential crisis. Or did a lot of drugs. Similar to Cocoon, I don't really want to dive into a lot of the things about Tunic that I feel make it special, because I think this is a game you have to go into truly blind to really appreciate it. So once again, I'm only gonna talk basics, and you'll have to trust me when I say that this game is really worth your time. In Tunic, you play as this tiny little cute fox in this tiny little cute world with quite a pretty deep story to tell. A lot of people have talked about this game as some sort of combination of an OG Zelda game, a puzzle game, and yes, a Dark Souls game. And I agree, to a very minimum extent on that last one. The combat, while not being extremely deep, still demands you to pay attention and play with caution at times, and it's overall pretty fun. The game looks really nice for the simplistic approach it has, and the music is just really atmospheric. I mean, just listen to this. Now, for the real magical part of the game has this made-up language that is impossible to understand, and there is no tutorial for anything. You see, scattered around the map, you'll find these pieces of paper that when picked up, they will reveal a part of a manual, and this manual functions as your tutorial, map, and overall guide for the whole game. It contains information on enemies, how the controllers work, what items do, and a lot of secrets. This is such a smart and lovely way to tell the player information without complicating HUDs or tedious tutorials. I have never in my life played another game where just looking at how the controllers worked made me really happy. As an example of what you can find in the guide, early in the game you'll find these doors that are closed and seem impossible to open, and yes, that is the case, unless you find a piece of the manual that lets you know how to open them. What I love about the game is that you can do everything without even having to look at the manual. Hell, you can maybe find out how to open the doors I just talked about by accident and completely break the game because you opened them really early. The best thing you can find in this game is not an overpowered item or better stats or anything like that. The best thing you can find is a page that will fill your knowledge and give you the moment of "oh" that keeps you wanting to find out more about the game. Tunic has a lot of secrets for you to find out, and for me, the puzzle of the Golden Path has been one of my favorite puzzles I've ever done. If you feel like you're going to like this game, please go for it. It is an experience you will not regret having. Whoa, 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 whoa! Don't click off the video now. Look, I know Zelda's pretty low on my list, but just listen to me. I have a lot of criticisms for the game, and if you want to know what they are, I recommend Yako's video on the game because I share a lot of the opinions he has on it. But I still really like the game, okay? So please, before you come to my house trying to burn it down, just calm down. I'm about to sing its praises. How the hell does Nintendo make a game like this on the Switch? This is a technical marvel. The amount of combinations and ways to make your playthrough unique from the other players is absurd. Have you seen those videos people made about creations when the game released? It's just insane. Someone even made the Megalovania song inside the game. I spent so many hours trying to come up with my own little creations, and while I really sucked at it, it's fine because I was having fun in the process, you know? It was fun to explore the near infinite number of combinations with the weapons and wacky ways to kill enemies. Like, there are some combinations you wouldn't even think of. Man, I love this guy. I wish I could go around looking like him. No way! At the endgame I found some pretty cool armor and weapons to combine, and it made me feel like an unstoppable monster, and I loved every second of it. And don't even get me started on the shrines, man. Those things are so fun. At the end of Breath of the Wild, I was dreading finding a shrine since a lot of them felt kinda to me. But I was so excited every time I saw a shrine in this game. There are so many ways to solve them, and I love that the game encourages the player to experiment with limited tools and find their solution to a problem. Hell, the game even allows you to enter a shrine with a rocket shield in hand and just ignore a lot of the puzzles altogether because at the end of the day, you decided to solve the shrine your way. When getting footage for this video, going around the map made me remember how magical this and Breath of the Wild are. Just going around the towns hit me with a feel of nostalgia that made me not want to put the game down again, even if just to be there in those places, enjoying the view, and listening to the amazing music the game has. I think that out of all the games in this list, Tears of the Kingdom is the one that I have the most criticisms of. But I think there's something beautiful in being able to find faults in something and still being able to say that you're in love with it. I mean, I did play the game for like 100 hours, so I really do love the game. I may not play Tears of the Kingdom again until, I don't know, 10 years or so have passed, but I'll remember the good times fondly, and whenever I do decide to go back, I know I'll be excited because I'll have an amazing game waiting for me. That is what a lot of Zelda games have been for me in the past, you know? Not perfect games, but something special for me, and I could ask nothing more for Tears of the Kingdom. By the way, you can make pizza in this game, so 10 out of 10 best game of the year.
Let's go!
Now, I don't know what they were smoking when they were making Mario Wonder, but I don't want them to stop. I might want some for it myself if you know what I mean. This game is pure 2D Mario Bliss. And if I'm being honest, I haven't really played a 2D Mario game since the one on the Wii. So yeah, it's been a while, but for everything I've seen, people seem pretty tired of those games, and man, after playing Mario Wonder, this has to be one of my favorite 2D platformers ever made. You can feel how much fun the developers had making this game. Every level just oozes an air of creativity and freedom that 2D Mario games have been needing for a while. According to a lot of people, of course, I can't really comment much on that. The Wonder Flowers change the level and gameplay so much at times, like the ones that transform you or the ones that make something super weird happen, and it's really fun every time. I mean, the second level of the game makes the plants sing after you pick up a flower. Like, how do you not fall in love with this? Now, if the game didn't have the Wonder Flower mechanics in every level, in my opinion, it would still be a fantastic game, but the fact that they're in every single level is just insane. I was so excited to see what wacky shenanigans would happen after picking up a Wonder Flower that every time I missed one, I just had to go back and find it, or else I wouldn't be able to move on. And then there's the badge system, like, dude, you can glide, get better jumps, time jumps to get coins, be able to be super fast but not being able to stop. You can have a grapple hook in a Mario game, like, huh? My favorite one, and in my opinion the most OP one, has to be the one that gives you a slight boost in midair. I don't know what else to say. The art style is just a delight to see in every level, and I mean, it's Mario. Of course the games would have banger music. So yeah, if you ever want to play something that's not extremely complicated, or you don't want to invest a ton of hours into one sitting for one game, you should definitely pick up Mario Wonder. The game is great to play in short periods of time, and every time you play it, I promise you'll have a blast each time you start running through a level again, and you will not be able to put the game down. Given that I haven't played either of the Ori games and I'm waiting on the release of Silksong, please just give it to me already. I felt like I was running dry on good Metroidvania games. That's not to say they're not out there, I just don't hear as much of a praise to them as I have with these ones here. But then, Blasphemous 2 released, and now I can confidently say that the Metroidvania void that I was feeling is now fulfilled. For now. Please don't take another year. I had already loved the first Blasphemous, from the gameplay to the music and story, and the best part of all, the art direction. You see, the franchise takes inspiration from the Spanish Golden Century, as well as the Spanish Inquisition, so you can expect a lot of Christian and Catholic imagery. All of this is depicted in such a unique and twisted way, and it's also well illustrated with the game's pixel art. And dude, let me just say, saying that the game has amazing pixel art would be underselling it. I genuinely believe that the Blasphemous franchise has some of the best pixel art in the entire gaming industry right now. In this game, the map is huge. At the beginning, it'll look like this, and at the end, it'll look something like this. You've also got your Metroidvania staples, like shortcuts, hidden walls, items to collect, and a lot of backtracking, baby. My favorite. The gameplay improved so much from the first game too. Everything feels faster and more dynamic. Now you have more options in battle, like being able to choose 3 weapons, each with a skill tree, and you can switch them on the fly. You have dual swords that are quick and able to pump a lot of damage thanks to this mechanic that makes them stronger as long as you don't take damage. You have a curved blade that's balanced in every aspect, with the best parry in the game, and is able to sacrifice health in exchange for more damage. And the last one is the War Sensor. Slower than the other weapons, although not by much, this weapon has a lot of range and it's able to consume mana to empower itself with fire attacks. You can always fully upgrade one weapon and stick to it and it'll work out, but I adore when a game lets me have options when approaching combat, and that's not even talking about the spells. In Blasphemous 2, you have 2 sorts of spells, Chants and Verses. Verses don't consume a lot of mana and are weaker than prayers, but they can be very useful at times, like being able to throw homing feathers or fireballs that do a lot of damage if you hit all of them. Chants, on the other hand, are strong spells that vary from stopping time, to leaving a trail of fire that'll delete enemies, to doing this Dragon Ball shit here. The level design is also fantastic. Every segment of the map is really different from the other, and enemies are barely repeated outside of the parts of the map where you find them, so you always feel like you're finding something new to fight. Platforming, while not being the game's strongest point, feels pretty fun once you get certain abilities like double jumping, wall jumping, and being able to do a dash in midair. And by the way, did I tell you that every weapon has its own mechanic related to how you navigate the world? The dual swords will teleport you through these mirrors, the war sensor will let you hit these bells that make platforms appear, and the sword will let you cut through these whatever they are. So yeah, every time you get a new weapon or ability, it's time to do some backtracking through the entire map again. And that's the good shit. Overall, Blasphemous 2 is an improvement on every single aspect of the first game, and I think it's a crime that it wasn't nominated on the 2023 Games Awards for literally not a single prize, by the way. Jeff, be careful, I won't be so kind next year if you pull something funny like this again. So yeah, if you want to try a Metroidvania game and haven't played this one, or are currently trying not to give in to the voices because Silksong hasn't released yet, I think Blasphemous 2 has nothing to envy from the other big names in the genre, so you'll definitely want to give this one a try. I don't really have a lot to say about Bayonetta. I mean, just look at her. You just cannot give me a reason to not play this game. This game is an improvement on every way from the original. There's a lot of weapons and combos and goofy costumes that change some effects from the game, like iconic Zelda noises, or picking up Mario coins, or turning a jet fighter into a goddamn airwing. Seriously, what's not to love about this game? And also, that Radahn fight? Holy fuck, that was one of the hardest boss battles I've ever done. I was feeling anxious even after having beaten him. The devs really became just straight up masochistic when they made that fight. Now, I've heard a lot of people consider Bayonetta 2 to be better than 3, and while I haven't played that one yet, it's going to be pretty hard to top this one. 2 is one of the best hack and slash games I've ever played, and like I've said before, I don't really have much to add. Game is just fucking awesome. If you're into hack and slash games or just action games in general, this is a must-play game if you haven't done so already. For the most part, I think the gameplay speaks for itself, so if you like what you're seeing, you're probably gonna end up loving it. And again, just look at her! Game of the year, 10 out of 10. Prior to playing Sekiro, I hadn't really played any Souls or Souls-like games at all. The exception being Nioh, and while I really like the combat on that game, a lot of people say that Nioh is very unique on some of the stuff that it does, and it doesn't really play like your typical Souls game. Then one day, I told my friends that I haven't played any games from Software, and they decided to give me Sekiro. And after some investigation and reading that a lot of people consider Sekiro one of the hardest games from Software, scared as I was, I decided to give it a try, and boy oh boy, what a game to get introduced to from Software games. Sekiro quickly became one of my favorite games ever made in terms of combat, from the movement to the arm prosthetics and just the overall feeling of constantly having to be face to face with the enemy, finding the right time to get some damage in, or just constantly deflecting their attacks to get enough posture damage and executing them on the spot. In Sekiro, you don't have a stamina bar. Instead, you and the enemy both have a posture bar that gradually gets filled when blocking or deflecting an attack, that when broken, for you it'll mean that you get staggered, and if this happens, you are guaranteed to take a hit most of the time. And if you break the enemy's posture bar, it means either an instant kill, or if they have more than one health bar, it completely deletes the one you broke the posture for. In Sekiro, even the most basic of enemies can really give you a hard time if you're careless and not paying attention. But dude, the bosses in this game? Oh my god. I've seen some people use the term dance when describing the combat of a Souls game, and that really fits in this game. To me, every time I was fighting a boss, it felt like I was really dancing with them. Learning their patterns and timings and knowing when to hit them without being too greedy has been one of my favorite experiences this year. In this game, you'll die a lot. Like, seriously, a lot. But you will always have an extra life thanks to the revive mechanic, so in case you fuck up in the middle of a fight, you'll always have another chance to turn the fight in your favor. And honestly, this comes really handy when you're trying to learn an enemy's pattern. I think this game is the embodiment of the phrase "get good", because every time I died, I didn't feel like it was because an enemy was really unbalanced to the point of making the game feel unfair, or because of some sort of bullshit happening with a wacky hitbox. With exceptions, looking at you, Demon of Hatred and Blazing Bull. Every death felt like it really was me who just misplayed the fight by being greedy or panicking and losing my tempo, and honestly, not being able to progress and feeling like it was my own doing felt great. I always had the thought of I can do this better, and going with that feeling into every fight made it so that I was never frustrated with the game, and that in turn made me be extremely happy whenever I died as long as I felt like I was improving, and that, fellas, is what makes a really good fucking game. Now, you can make the argument that dodging is somewhat useless in this game because you can just deflect everything and occasionally jump to avoid sweep attacks, and while, yeah, I think it's a valid argument, it's still a pretty fucking fun game, so fuck you. If you've never played a Souls game and are interested in starting with Sekiro, but are too afraid because of the acclaimed difficulty that the game has, I can only tell you to go for it. Even if you're scared or feel like you're bad at the game, I promise you, you'll see yourself improving with every death and finding a feeling of excitement every time you're feeling stuck. So don't give up on that boss fight you feel impossible to overcome, because hey, you never know, you might just kill that boss on the next try. Man, I'm so happy that's over. Oh no. Oh no!
Heaven is a trip.
Okay, this one's gonna be a little hard to explain, so try to keep up. Neon White is a first-person shooter, which is also a platformer that has a card system in which the cards are the guns you use to shoot, that also work as your mobility options when you discard them, and the entire game is based on speedrunning. Still with me? I remember when the first trailer for Neon White released, I didn't really give it much of a thought because it just seemed weird and kinda cringe.
As above, so below. Why do they need assassins in heaven? To do someone's dirty work.
I'm not the biggest fan of FPS games anyways, so I thought it would just be a mediocre game, and boy was I wrong. This game is so good. The goal of the game is to go through these stages while killing all the enemies and discarding the cars to do some platforming when needed. That's it, it's very simple. The beauty in Neon White is that the levels are short and fast, so to make the game fun, the developers added a score system that incentivizes the player to replay the stages and get a fastest time in order to get a better score. Because yes, you could beat every level with a bronze medal and go on and, you know, be happy with your life or whatever, but if you're anything like me, you will not be able to move on from a level until you figure out how to get the Ace medal, and that applies for every single stage in this game. The devs understand and welcome player creativity. They know that players will go back to get a better time, and honestly, it feels great to be rewarded for that. You'll find that the enemies are unimpressive and feel like they don't do much, but you'll learn to appreciate that when you have to find the best way to kill all of them while flying through the level at the speed of sound. The mobility itself is also quite simple. Discarding the pistol will make you jump, the machine gun shoots a grenade that can bounce you off, the shotgun is an all-direction dash, and the bazooka has a grapple hook. So every gun has its own movement and way to be used, and the real fun part of the game is how you use these movement options to get a better time. After beating a stage one time, when replaying it, the level itself will guide you to a shortcut and open your mind to think about what other ways you can use the map and the movement mechanics to get a faster time, and this applies to every single level. There were times where I was stuck on one level for hours just laughing and experimenting to see how I could break the level and get a better time. Before playing Neon White, I've never really understood the appeal on speedrunning, and now I do, and unless it's a game like, I don't know, Neon White 2, make it happen. I probably won't speedrun another game, but I can totally see why people do it all the time. It's just really fun, and I owe it up to this game for opening my eyes to that. So yeah, if you want to know why speedrunning is fun, start playing this game. You're in for a wild ride. By the way, if you do play it, try to ignore the dialogue. It can be pretty cringe at times.
You are my Sasuke, man. The darkness to my light.
What the fuck?
I'm here, baby.
Who are you talking to?
I really like this game, fellas. From the looks to the gameplay to the characters and story, and man, the music, like everything in this game is such a joy to experience. The idea of blending together rhythm mechanics to an action hack and slash game is one of the craziest concepts I've ever heard of. But when you start playing it and you start to realize how well everything works together, you'll be having a hard time putting down the controller. In Hi-Fi Rush, everything is synced to the beat of the game, and I mean everything, from the platforms to the enemies, and even some things in the world are bouncing along the beat as if they were dancing. This combined with the beautiful art style makes the world feel so lively and cheerful, and what can I say, I'm a sucker for cel shading. As I said before, this game is a hack and slash, and while I don't think it's quite up there with games like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta in terms of combat, for me this game delivered one of the best experiences I've had with the genre. As you would expect from a hack and slash, you have your light attacks, heavy attacks, ground combos, air combos, you know the drill. The catch of the game is that you want to perform these things on the beat. That way, you'll deal a lot more damage and get finishers. You also have special attacks, and some of them are straight up Guitar Hero, and it's really fun. Since the enemies also attack on the beat, if you're paying attention and going along the rhythm, a lot of the times you'll know what's coming and you'll be able to dodge or parry, and some enemies demand you to master the beat perfectly in order to defeat them. They'll go into this berserker mode where you can't kill them unless you successfully complete a sequence of parries and dodges, and it always feels great to pull this off. The samurai, while traumatizing me the first time I encountered him, ended up becoming one of my favorite enemies to fight in the entire game once I got good enough and I wasn't falling off the beat. I also ended up falling in love with the characters. I would love to watch an entire cartoon out of these guys. Every single one of them is really funny and likable, and on that point, I think the comedy really hits in this game. Obviously comedy is subjective, but the game did get me to laugh quite a lot during the entire playthrough. Like, I'm sick of JoJo references in any media, and this game made a really funny bit with one of the villains whose whole existence is being a JoJo reference.
I saw your reflexes, but how about your endurance? Let's give it a go, go, go!
Oh my god.
But enough talk. Have at you!
Hi-Fi Rush is my easiest recommendation on this list besides Mario Wonder. This is a game that I think no matter who you are, you will like it and have an awesome time because that's just the kind of game it is. It's just a damn feel-good game, you know? And for a while, it sat as my #1 game this year. That is, until it released. When the trailer for Lies of P dropped, I was immediately hooked on the premise of a Souls-like game about Pinocchio? Because how do you turn a character that was turned into this
Father, when can I leave to be on my own? I've got the whole world to see.
into this? What is happening? What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? At the time I wasn't that big into the genre of Souls games, but with a premise like that, I just knew I had to see it through. Now, after having beaten the game 2 times and planning on doing a 3rd playthrough, I can easily say that Lies of P is my favorite Souls-like game, even though I haven't really played that many. From beginning to end, the combat of this game kept me engaged to find more enemies to fight and bosses to invest tears and as much time as I needed to beat them. The game has so much variety in its combat mechanics in regards of how you approach offensively, as well as how you decide to respond defensively. As an example to this, I started playing Lies of P not too long from having finished Sekiro, so when I was told by the game that parrying was an important mechanic, I figured that I would just take the Sekiro approach and deflect my way through every enemy. And even if that worked fairly well on my first hours, unlike Sekiro, parrying is not essential. The game quickly started throwing enemies that, while not necessarily breaking my approach of deflecting, made me think twice about whether or not I should keep trying to deflect a moveset that was hard for me to get the timing of, potentially eating a lot of damage and dying, or if I should dodge, reposition, and get my tempo back in order. Romeo's crazy fire attack being the best example I can think of when it comes to selecting your defensive option, because you can either keep rolling behind him so that he doesn't end up comboing you to death, or you can be a show-off and deflect every single attack from that string. Personally, I found deflecting that attack to be as hard as fighting a pair, and so I took the same action you'd take in real life. You don't. Unless you're this guy. But if you can parry all of that... What I'm trying to say here is that there is no best option when it comes to interacting with an enemy attack. Deflecting, rolling, blocking, or a mix of all are options each player will choose for their playstyle or for what they see fit as an answer to an attack. And that's not even touching on the other mechanics. Oh my god, this game is so good. There are 4 mechanics without which I don't think I would have enjoyed the game as much. These being blocking damage, the repair tool, the stagger bar, and the healing charges. And just listen to them. Starting with the blocking damage, after blocking an attack, part of your health bar will be transferred into God Regain, and if you hit the enemy, you can regain some of your health back. For the repair tool, while attacking and blocking, your weapon will take durability damage, so it must be constantly repaired or it'll break. For the stagger bar, parrying an attack will build up posture damage on the enemy, then when full, their health bar will start glowing white, after which if you hit the enemy with a heavy or fable attack, you'll be able to knock him down and do an execute attack. And for the healing charges, when you run out of healing charges, your last charge will refill if you deal damage to the enemies. That's it. When you combine what I previously talked about alongside these mechanics, it allows for amazing moments in fights, while always keeping you on your toes even if you feel like you're in control. When I was fighting my way through some bosses, there were times when I was close to dying and I was ready to give up on that run, only to realize that I was about to get a healing charge back, giving me the hope and motivation I needed to get my spirits back into the fight and keep going. And there were also times where I felt like I was owning the boss, only to see that my weapon bounced back when I hit it, realizing that my weapon was broken, and I needed to find a way to repair it in the middle of the battle without getting killed. And there were also times where me and the boss would be evenly matched, their health would start glowing, I started to feel a sense of rush to get that stagger, go for a risky play, and then I would either get it and turn the fight in my favor, or my grid would come around me and I'd die, not only in the game, but also in terms of embarrassment because how the fuck did I not hit that? As my final points in terms of gameplay, I want to talk about the weapon system. In Lies of P, you'll either find weapons around the map or you'll buy them from merchants. You can then use the weapon as it is or assemble your own combination by splitting the blade and the handle. The latter brings the moveset and the former brings most of the stats, like damage, blocking properties, and speed. The system allows for a crazy amount of experimentation with a lot of the combinations for the weapons. You want to deal with slow armor puppets but aren't a fan of super heavy weapons? You can use the blade of a heavy weapon with the handle of a short one to get that weapon status damage without it being extremely slow. You like the stats that a blade has but don't like the moveset? It is as easy as to change it to a handle that fits more of your playstyle. One of the weapons that I used the most was this combination of a knife that was somewhat weak but had a lot of crit chance with the handle of another knife that I had found earlier on the game that felt faster and was more of my playstyle. You can also even make this. There's also the boss weapons. You cannot combine them like the other weapons in the game, but for the ones I used, each one offers a relatively unique playstyle. My favorite weapon in the entire game being the katana, and I promise you it's not because I'm a weep, which I am. The katana has this unique effect where the heavy attack has an integrated counter attack which when you hit, you will always flinch the boss off. It is very hard to get the timing off, but when you learn how to master it, you'll be practically untouchable. The learning curve of this weapon alone, against the insane moveset that the bosses and enemies have, provided me with one of the most fun experiences I've ever had with a single weapon in any game. Before I wrap things up, I want to mention the artistic and musical aspects of the game. Starting with the visuals, I mean, have you seen what I've been showing on the screen? The game looks gorgeous. Here's some of my favorite places. I also love the enemy designs. There is so many puppet designs that fit perfectly into the world, like there's unfinished puppets, there's butlers, jesters, machinery puppets, and then there's these creatures from a nightmare, and get them out of my sight right now! By the way, you don't only fight puppets in this game, you also fight humans, and as I'm sure you already noticed, mutants too. There is so much flavor and variety in the enemy designs, and it's just, I love it. As for the music, I am begging you to go listen to a playlist of the records found in the game, and I dare you to tell me this game shouldn't have been nominated to Best Score in the 2023 Games Awards. Like, it is criminal what Jeff did. I don't know how else I can describe to you how much I really like this game. I didn't used to understand what the craze for Souls games was, even after having played Sekiro, but after playing Lies of P, this game single-handedly managed to make me interested in checking an entire new genre of games. Now I think I understand why so many people love games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. And being able to share those feelings that were once completely alienated to me is more than enough for me to consider Lies of P my game of the year. Oh my god, I did it! I've been trying to make this video for a while, and like I said at the beginning, it is literally my first time making a video and learning Premiere and Audition and Photoshop, and oh my god, it's been a journey. Hi, by the way, this is Unscripted Fufo. Please let me know what you like from the video, and I guess something that you didn't like as well. I know there are some weird cuts on the audio, and my pronunciation can be a little bit better. But look, I made the video because I'm trying to improve my English and I need something to talk about, you know what I mean? So there's that. I guess I also should plug in my Twitch channel right here, or maybe in the comments or somewhere in the description. The link's gonna be somewhere. You should definitely come by if you want to hang out, because I may not post another video in quite a while because college is starting, but I'll definitely be streaming a lot on Twitch, so you'll probably see me there every day playing a game. And I don't know, I would just love to have somebody to talk with, because I love talking about the stuff that I really like. So yeah, if you want to hang out, if you like the video, please come by. And I guess you should subscribe too. I mean, I really don't know how well this is gonna do. I expect no one to see this, but I still had a lot of fun making it, and if someone else watches it and they had a lot of fun, then I'm happy. I don't know what else to say really. I think that's about it. So yeah, once again, let me know what you like on the comments down below, and you know, the stuff you didn't like as well. I would love some criticism. But yeah, hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye bye!